The moment Harper handed over the cashier's check, I felt something in me fracture. She held it like it was an offering at an altar. $42,000 worth of teenage labor, sacrifice, skipped proms, secondhand clothes, and double weekend shifts at the bookstore. A check I helped her match dollar for dollar across 6 long years. A check meant for Stanford. A check that changed everything. It happened on a Tuesday, of all days. The kind of day that starts with grocery lists and ends in a storm. I came home from a 12-hour shift, feet aching, only to find Harper on the couch with red eyes and her laptop open, Bank of America interface on the screen. "Did you cry?" I asked instinctively. She looked up. "Grandpa called. He's sick, really sick." I froze. "He needs heart surgery, Mom. Some rare procedure. Insurance won't cover it." She swallowed. "They might lose the house." There it was, that familiar tightness in my chest, the one that always surfaced when my father suddenly needed something. "And?" I asked slowly, sitting down beside her. "I told him I'd help." "You mean?" "I'm giving them my college fund." The air thinned. I stared at her. "Harper, no." "Mom, please." He was crying. "Grandpa never cries. He said this surgery might be his only chance." "Did he ask you directly?" "No, but he didn't have to. He sounded so scared." My pulse ticked up. "You're talking about all your savings, everything you worked for." "I can get loans. Maybe even start at community college. Transfer later." I stood up, pacing. "No, absolutely not. We can figure something out. Talk to the hospital, find a payment plan, negotiate. This isn't your burden. He needs the money this week, for the pre-op appointment." How convenient, I thought. Always urgent, always just on the edge of catastrophe. But Harper was 18, an adult, legally. This was her money. More importantly, it was her heart. Her belief that family deserved the benefit of the doubt. I saw myself in her before I learned better. "Let me talk to them," I said, trying not to sound frantic. "Mom, I already made the transfer." The next day, I drove Harper to my parents' house with the physical check she insisted on giving them. "It'll feel more real," she said, holding it in an envelope like it was a letter to Santa. Eleanor answered the door in gardening gloves and Lululemon. No sign of distress. "Oh, Harper," she gasped, hugging her. "You're an angel." Her eyes flicked to me, assessing, cold beneath the smile. "Where's Dad?" I asked. "Resting. The doctor says stress isn't good." "Which hospital is doing the procedure?" "Oh, that specialist group near the university. Richard has the details." I followed Harper into the pristine living room. Nothing out of place, no hospital paperwork, no pill bottles, just the same Pottery Barn perfection they always flaunted. Richard emerged minutes later, more spry than I'd seen him in months. His handshake was firm, his voice steady. "This means everything to us," he said, taking the envelope. "We'll repay her, promise." Harper smiled, visibly lighter. I stared at my father. Something in his eyes flickered, but not gratitude, calculating. A week passed, then 2. No surgery updates, no hospital calls, nothing. When Harper called to check in, they shifted topics. Amber's graduation, her exciting future at UCLA. Then came the post. My mother, who hadn't used Facebook in years, uploaded a photo of Amber next to a brand new Audi convertible wrapped in a red bow. "Congratulations to our amazing granddaughter Amber. Enjoy your dream car and European graduation tour. So proud." Harper saw it before I did. "Wow," she murmured. "That's generous. Guess Uncle Mark and Aunt Diana really went all out." I said nothing. My stomach twisted. The numbers didn't add up. That car cost near $35,000. And a European tour? Harper laughed it off, but something dimmed in her. "It's fine, Mom. I still have options. It's just a detour." 2 days later, during my lunch break, I stopped by the mall to pick up scrubs. That's when I saw her. Diana, shopping bags everywhere. She waved. "Melissa, long time no see." We made awkward small talk. Then she said it. "Is Harper still set on Stanford?" "She's reconsidering," I replied carefully. Financial reasons. Diana blinked. I thought she had a scholarship. That's what Mom and Dad said. She did. Partial. Well, I mean, community college is smart too. Amber's so excited about UCLA, especially after Mom and Dad's gift. Gift? I repeated. Yeah, the Audi and the trip. 40 days, 5 countries, first class. They said it was their way of investing in her future. I stared at her. When did they plan that? Oh, months ago. Since Christmas, I think. I left without another word. In the car, I gripped the steering wheel until my knuckles turned white. It wasn't a mistake. It wasn't a misunderstanding. They had lied, manipulated, stolen. They had taken Harper's future and traded it for Amber's vacation photos. That evening, I sat Harper down. There was no surgery, I said softly. What? I ran into Diana. She told me about the gift, the car, the trip. They planned it since Christmas. Harper's eyes searched mine. But Grandpa said, they lied, Harper. She shook her head. No, maybe they used different money. Maybe the surgery didn't cost as much. Sweetheart. I showed her the Facebook post, the captions, the timeline. She dialed my father's number with shaking hands, put it on speaker. Grandpa? She said when he answered. How are you feeling after the surgery? Silence. Then, Harper, listen. Adults make hard choices sometimes for the greater good. There was no surgery, was there? A beat. That money is being put to good use. Amber's worked hard too. Harper ended the call. She stood, walked to her bedroom, and shut the door without a word. That night I sat outside her room and listened to the sobs through the walls. Then silence. The next morning, over toast, Harper looked different, harder, more focused. I want to call them, she said. I raised an eyebrow. Why? I want to hear them say it to my face. I nodded. I'll stand by you. She didn't blink. I know. If you've ever been dismissed, exploited, or betrayed despite giving your best, type 1. Because sometimes justice starts with finally saying, enough. The moment Harper ended the call with my father, I saw the light in her eyes change. The devastation hadn't fully hit yet, but it would. The silence in the kitchen buzzed louder than a scream. She picked up her cold tea with shaking hands and poured it down the sink. That was the first time I saw her pull away from hope. That evening, I came home to find Harper sitting on the living room floor, Stanford acceptance letter open in her lap, surrounded by a quiet mess. Shredded scholarship brochures, loan pamphlets. Her planner filled with color-coded goals she'd once lived by. The kind of dreams that don't survive, lies. I don't get it, she whispered. I did everything right. I knelt beside her. They knew, Mom. They knew what that money meant to me, and they still chose her. Her voice cracked, but no tears came. But no. It was worse than that. She was going numb. The next morning, something shifted in me. I walked into the hospital where I worked, nodded to my coworkers like everything was normal, and locked myself in the supply closet. Then I opened my phone, went through my voicemail log, and found the message Richard left the day after Harper transferred the funds. We are so grateful, Harper. This procedure, it's life or death. You're saving us, honey. I replayed it 5 times. That was our starting point. Later that night, I sat down at the kitchen table with Harper. She looked worn down, puffy eyes, slow responses, the kind of emotional exhaustion that doesn't heal with sleep. Listen, I said. I've been thinking, what they did, it's not just cruel. It might be illegal. Her brows pulled together. What do you mean? They misrepresented a life-threatening emergency to get you to send money. That's fraud, even if it's family. She sat in silence for a while. Then, would it even matter? No one sues their grandparents. Sometimes, that's exactly why people like them get away with it. We stared at each other. She nodded once, quiet, resolute. I reached out to Grace Taylor, an attorney one of my colleagues had used for a family dispute. Grace was sharp, no nonsense, and had the kind of steel-calm voice that could cut through chaos. We met at her office 3 days later. Harper did most of the talking, told the story from beginning to end, voice trembling at first, but growing steadier with each detail. She brought printouts of the bank transfer, screenshots of the Facebook post, and the voicemail on speaker. Grace sat back afterward, folding her hands. "This is classic financial manipulation," she said. "And yes, it qualifies as civil fraud. The fact that their family doesn't exempt them, in fact, it makes it worse." "What happens now?" Harper asked. "We start with a demand letter, full restitution. If they don't respond, we file a lawsuit. Most people settle before court, especially when community reputation is at stake." Harper nodded, jaw tight. "Let's do it." That night, I thought about every Sunday dinner where my parents passed Harper the side salad while giving Amber the last slice of roast. Every holiday where Harper's name was misspelled on the gift tag. Every time Harper called them Grandma and Grandpa like it meant something. They had groomed her to believe she didn't deserve more, and now they'd cashed in. Not anymore. As Grace worked on the demand letter, I began quietly talking to people in my parents' world. Not a smear campaign, just facts. When Mrs. Johnson from church asked about Harper's college plans, I said, she had to turn down Stanford. My parents told her there was a medical emergency, took her money, and spent it on a car and vacation for Amber. Reactions ranged from gasps to outright disbelief. Some didn't believe me, at first. Others, like Stephanie Collins, did. "Your mother did the same thing to my nephew," Stephanie revealed. "Said your dad needed emergency cancer treatments, then posted photos from their Florida timeshare." She agreed to write a statement. That made 2 documented incidents. A pattern. On day 10, the letter was ready. "We demand full repayment of $42,000 plus 10% interest within 10 business days, or we will pursue legal action for fraud and financial misrepresentation." Harper read every word, then signed her name slowly at the bottom. No emotion, just precision. We sent the letter by courier. 4 hours later, my phone rang. Eleanor. "How dare you threaten legal action against your own parents?" she hissed. "After everything we've done for you and Harper." I didn't flinch. "You committed fraud." "We did no such thing. Harper gave that money freely, under false pretenses." "We never explicitly said it was for surgery," she said, slippery as oil. "We have the voicemail, Mom. He did say it. I heard it again today." There was a long pause, then she pivoted. "You've always been jealous of your sister. This is just another stunt to drag us down." "We're not the ones who lied." I hung up. 2 minutes later, Diana texted, "You're blowing this way out of proportion. You're going to ruin everything over one misunderstanding?" I didn't answer. That night, Harper couldn't sleep. She sat at the kitchen table at 3 a.m., staring at her planner. "I used to think we were just the less favored side of the family," she said. "Now I know we were just the disposable ones." She wasn't crying anymore. She was transforming. And in that moment, I knew we weren't backing down. If you've ever uncovered a lie so big it redefined how you saw your own family. Type 2. Sometimes the most dangerous thing they steal is your trust. The envelope was too thick to be good news. It arrived on a Thursday morning while I was at work. I had just stepped out of a mandatory ethics compliance seminar, ironically titled Integrity in Patient Relations, when my supervisor caught me in the hallway. "Melissa," she said too brightly, "HR needs to see you." I blinked. Now? In the small glass-walled conference room, the HR rep slid the envelope across the table. "You've been temporarily suspended pending a review." "For what?" "A patient complaint. Allegedly, you breached confidentiality in the nurses' lounge." I knew instantly where this was coming from. The bridge partner, the church ladies. My mother's network was spinning. She couldn't stop the lawsuit, but she could try to smear me at work. I left the building trembling, but not defeated. I called Grace from my car. "They're retaliating," I said flatly. "I expected it," she replied. "Let's lean in. We're not just filing civil, we're filing publicly." The next morning, the lawsuit was filed in Superior Court. Melissa Granger and Harper Granger versus Richard and Eleanor Granger charges: fraud, misrepresentation, financial exploitation. Grace made sure the papers were served directly by a professional process server named Vanessa, who, by all accounts, enjoyed her job. Later, Vanessa texted me a photo. It showed my father standing on the porch, pale as bone, holding the manila envelope with his name on it. My mother was in the background, frozen mid-sentence. The caption read, "Consider it delivered." Then the calls began. First, Richard, "You've gone too far." Then Eleanor, "This is embarrassing, for all of us." Then Diana, "You're destroying our family's name." They still didn't get it. We weren't destroying anything. They had already done that. We were just shining a light on the wreckage. 3 days after the lawsuit hit, Harper got an unexpected visitor. Amber. She showed up at our apartment with no warning, wearing a hoodie and no makeup. Her usually perfect posture was gone. "Can I talk to Harper?" she asked me quietly. I nodded. Harper invited her in. They sat at the dining table for almost an hour. I stayed in my room, listening from behind the door. Afterward, Harper recapped the conversation. "She didn't know," Harper said. "They told her the money came from their retirement savings." "Would it have mattered if she had known?" Harper hesitated. "I think so." Amber, to her credit, had canceled her Europe trip. Said she couldn't enjoy it knowing what it cost. She had even applied for a part-time receptionist job downtown. "She's not the villain," Harper said softly. "She's just been fed the same illusion I used to believe, that Grandma and Grandpa's love was unconditional." A week later, Grace received a call. My father wanted to mediate. We met in the office of Thomas Walker, a longtime friend of the family and a respected community elder. Neutral territory. Harper dressed simply, black blouse, jeans, no makeup, but her posture was razor straight. No victim energy, just calm readiness. Inside, Richard and Eleanor sat stiffly. Their attorney, Franklin Reed, looked like he hadn't blinked since the 90s. "Thank you for coming," Thomas began. "We're here today, not to assign blame, but to seek a path forward." My father cleared his throat. "This lawsuit is hurtful. Families don't sue each other." Grace responded before I could. "Families also don't fabricate medical emergencies to steal from their own granddaughter." My mother leaned forward. "It wasn't theft. Harper gave it to us voluntarily." Harper spoke then, clear, unwavering. "I gave it to you because you said Grandpa was dying, because you said you might lose your house. That was a lie." "You're being dramatic," my father snapped. "Amber needed that gift. She's the only one going straight to university." "I was accepted to Stanford," Harper replied. "But that didn't matter to you," Franklin cut in. "The Wilsons are willing to offer $25,000 as a goodwill gesture, payable immediately, in exchange for a signed non-disclosure and dismissal of the lawsuit." Grace didn't even flinch. "Our position remains, full repayment of $42,000, plus 10% interest and legal fees. Otherwise, we proceed." My father exploded. "We don't have that kind of money lying around." "Then maybe," Harper said quietly, "you shouldn't have spent my college fund on a car and flights to Greece." A silence stretched through the room like wire. "You want us to cancel her graduation trip?" my mother asked, aghast. "You should," Harper said, "just like I would have had to give up Stanford." After an hour of going in circles, denial, blame, bargaining, Thomas called for a break. In the hallway, Grace leaned toward Harper. "They're sweating. We're getting to them. But you need to hold your line." Harper looked exhausted. "What if they never admit it was wrong?" "They won't," Grace said. "But they'll pay. That's how this ends." Back in the room, we gave them the final terms again. $46,200. 7 days. Or court moves forward. My father narrowed his eyes. "You realize this means you'll never be welcome in our home again." Harper didn't blink. "I realized that the day you chose Amber's comfort over my future." It was quiet after that. Franklin muttered something about reviewing options. We left. On the drive home, Harper stared out the window. "They'll pay," I said. "They'll never say sorry." "No," I agreed. "But this isn't about them anymore. This is about you." She nodded slowly. "Then I want it all back. Every penny. They can figure out how." If you've ever been forced to stand up to people who were supposed to protect you, type 3. Sometimes court is the only place where truth finally speaks louder than blood. I knew the moment I opened the door and saw the manila envelope that it was finally over, or at least the legal part. Grace called me 20 minutes earlier. "It's a cashier's check," she confirmed. "For the full amount, $46,200. They included a letter, too." "What kind of letter?" I asked. "You'll want to read it yourself." Now here it was, sitting on my kitchen counter like some twisted peace offering. Harper opened it while I made tea, hands steady despite everything. Inside was the check, and a typed note from their attorney, Franklin Reed. "This payment is made without admission of wrongdoing. It is offered solely to preserve family harmony. We expect this matter to remain private within the family." Harper read it twice, then set it down. "They're still not sorry," she said. "Not angry, not surprised. Just stating a fact. They really think money is the only thing they took." That evening, as I updated our records and notified Grace, Harper sat at the kitchen table, tracing the edge of her Stanford acceptance letter. "It doesn't feel like victory," she finally said. "It's not," I answered gently, "but it is justice. And sometimes that's the only road left." She gave a tight smile. "They'll tell everyone I extorted them." "Let them," I replied. "We know the truth. So does the court. So does most of the community by now." And that was true. Ever since the mediation leaked, invitations to my parents' Sunday brunches had dwindled. Their longtime friends at the country club, quiet, the church board, now requesting financial transparency. Whispers do more damage than screams when your identity is built on appearances. 2 weeks later, Diana showed up. She looked different, less polished, more real. She wore jeans and a cardigan instead of pearls and heels. Her usual smug air had been replaced by something closer to humility. "I'm not here to defend them," she said when I opened the door. "I just want to talk." Harper was out with friends. I let Diana in. "They're still furious," she said, sitting on the edge of the couch. "But not because of the money, because you embarrassed them." "Of course," I replied. "Their reputation's always been worth more than their relationships." Diana twisted her wedding ring. "Amber offered to give back the car and cancel the trip." That made me pause. "They let her?" "They told her it wasn't her problem, that it was your vendetta," I scoffed. "Typical." "But I've been thinking about things," Diana said quietly. "About how we were raised, how they always pitted us against each other." She looked at me, finally meeting my eyes. "I used to think being the favorite meant I was loved, but now I wonder if it just meant I was easier to control." That weekend, Harper met Amber for coffee. They talked for over 2 hours. When she got home, she dropped her bag, kicked off her shoes, and collapsed on the couch beside me. "How was it?" I asked. "Better than I expected," she said. Amber apologized, like, really apologized. I raised an eyebrow. "She said she's been thinking about how many things she got for free while I was saving for socks," Harper said, half laughing. "She canceled the trip, took a part-time job, says she wants to pay for her own stuff now." "She means it?" "I think so," Harper nodded. "She's not the enemy, Mom. She's just untested." The next week, Harper began preparing for Stanford again. She repaid her student loan application fees, ordered her books. We shopped for a laptop and bedding. I watched the girl who had once doubted her future return with quiet force. But she never went back to who she was before. She was wiser now, sharper. She asked different questions, of people, of herself. "I keep checking my account," she said once. "Like the money will just disappear again." "It won't," I promised, "because now you know how to protect it." 3 nights before we moved her into the dorms, Harper wrote a letter. She didn't show it to me at first. She left it on the kitchen table, sealed in an envelope with her grandparents' names on it. But I asked. She handed it over. "Dear Grandma and Grandpa, I'm not writing this to argue. I'm writing because silence is heavy, and I don't want to carry it to Stanford. What hurt most wasn't losing my college fund. It was realizing that you valued someone else's comfort more than my future. I trusted you. Completely. And you used that trust to teach me a lesson about priorities. You taught me that love, in your house, comes with conditions, that sacrifice is expected from some, and entitlement is handed to others. So here's what I've learned on my own. Love doesn't take from people who already have less. Trust doesn't recover without acknowledgement. And forgiveness doesn't mean permission to hurt me again. I forgive you, not for you, but for me. But I'm done pretending this didn't happen. Some bridges don't burn, they get rebuilt. Others, they stay ash. Sincerely, Harper. She never received a reply. The morning we drove to Stanford, Harper stood outside our apartment one last time. She looked at the sky, then at me. I thought this day would feel lighter. It will, I said. In time. We loaded the car, checked the list, double-checked the maps. Halfway down the freeway, she spoke. You know what hurts the most? I glanced sideways. What? That they never said sorry. I reached across and squeezed her hand. They didn't have to, I said. Because now they live with the truth. And you live with your future. Or if you've ever realized that someone's silence hurt more than their betrayal. Type 4. Because sometimes the apology you never get is worth less than the life you still get to live.